Hello, everyone. Good evening. I hope everyone is well by God's grace. We are welcome to another episode of our online discussions that we have. I'm so sorry. I've been trying to do this, but the network is not in our favor. That is why I'm recording this video at this time. But I hope this recorded session benefits us all in our upcoming I that you write in on Saturday. My name is Bafo Ewa Joseph Japon, but as you see on your screen, I'm popularly known as Nana Bafo Ewa, and I'm going to be your coordinator, instructor for this particular tutorial. This particular online session is going to be on the topic decentralization and poverty reduction. Kindly pardon me that I've not projected the slides on my screen. I've been having some network challenges, but I hope I'll be able to project the subsequent slides during our journey in getting academic showdown Poli 213. But I'll be using the readings that we have on our WhatsApp platforms, the readings that has been posted by our various colleagues and myself on the WhatsApp platform. So you can kindly open the reading that is decentralization and poverty reduction as you listen to this voice notes. Then you also read through. So I'm going to commence with an introduction of decentralization. Then we come to the linkage or linkages between decentralization and poverty reduction. Then we come to some benefits of decentralization. We also have weaknesses of decentralization. Then we look at poverty reduction, and we also go through, or we have an overview of decentralization in Ghana. But I'm going to make sure I make this session brief so that we can also find time to also read through the documents and help us all in our academic journey. So yes, an introduction of decentralization. I read from the document. Decentralization has been considered by many as one of the most important strategies in public sector reform agenda. This is because governments in sub-Saharan Africa have considered decentralization as a strategy that will bring service delivery closer to customers, improve the responsive of the central government to public demands, and thereby reduce poverty. So when you critically pay attention to these short sentences that I read, it is trying to tell us that the sub-Saharan Africa and other governments consider decentralization as a strategy towards as a strategy that will bring service delivery closer to customers. So unlike the centralized government, whereby powers are handed at the central level, it is handed to people at the central level. Decentralization makes us know that there is a demarcation, transfer of authority. That is why we have the district assemblies that also have power to implement policies at the basic level. So it is the best strategy. That's decentralization is the best strategy to bring what delivery services So when you are with your when the assembly man is there or people at the district assemblies are there and they are making policies, they are closer to us and they know the right policies that we have to implement at the district level or at the local level. So we work hand in hand with them at the local level. Unlike central, when you look at the central government, that is, they implement policy at the central level. They implement national policies. So they are thinking about their affiliations or their relations with other international organizations to help the economic growth of the state. But when we look at decentralization, it is telling us that since we have the district assemblies and other agencies that work at the local level, they are closer to us and they know the basic policies that when they implement it will promote development at the basic level or at the local level. So decentralization is linked with the concept of subsidiarity, which is making decisions at the lowest level, as I said. So subsidiarity is the means by which local governments or basic units make or implement policies at the lowest level. As I said, when we are in our local areas, sometimes the assembly members over there or the district assemblies, they know that we have bad roads at this particular area. They know that this particular area or local area is lacking clinic. They also know that this particular area is lacking maybe potable water, electricity. So they make these policies, basic policies to improve the well-being of the people over there. That is the concept of subsidiarity, that is making decisions at the lowest level. So when they realize, I'm trying to explain further, when our assemblyman or assemblywoman, when they realize these policies, that is when they can transfer it to the national level to seek for funds in order to come and develop the local areas that they live in. So these people are the eyes of the central government at the basic level. They are the eyes of the central government. Kindly pardon me the background, I'm in the hostel and I'm also making this recording. So it is Tuesday evening and sometimes students play music and other things and cars are going up and down. So when you hear or the background begins to disturb you, kindly pardon me for that. So decentralization is also meant to reduce workload of the central government or at the center level. As I said, the central governments are already loaded with preparing national budgets, having affiliations with other international bodies such as the International Monetary Fund, IMF, ECOWAS, AU, and other things. They are already loaded with them. And they are already loaded with national policies. So the decentralization, whereby power is transferred to the basic level, agencies and individuals at the basic level, reduces the workload of the central government because they are there living independently making policies there to develop the local level. So while the central government is thinking about the national policies and other things, the decentralized government is also making and implementing policies at the local level to what? To reduce the workload of the central government. Decentralization, these are the introductory parts of decentralization. Decentralization seeks to increase the operational autonomy of line management and agencies, leaving only broad policy guidelines to be the work out of the central government. As I already explained, they live independently to the agencies at the local level to administer or run the day-to-day administration of these local areas and leave the broader what policies to the central government. And as a result of that, reduces the workload of the central government. So the central government are more likely to formulate and implement pro-poor policies and programs. I take it again. The central government are more likely to formulate and implement pro-poor policies and programs. Let's pay attention to pro-poor policies. You could be asked, what are pro-poor policies? Or you could also be asked, what is the concept of what? Subsidiarity. And I said subsidiarity is making decisions at the lowest level. So I think right now someone is also asking himself or herself what pro-poor policies or programs are. So a pro-poor policy is a government strategy that aims to reduce poverty and improve the well-being of the poor. Example, social protection or access to basic what services, basic social amenities, potable water, electricity, healthcare, schools, that's formal education. So a pro-poor policy is what? A government strategy. The government have strategy that aims to reduce poverty and improve the well-being of the poor in the society. That is pro-poor policy. So they embark on these policies, and some of these policies are the access to what? Basic services and social protection. These are all programs and policies the government embarks on to what? To reduce poverty and improve the well-being of the poor. So the pro-poor policy is more focused on the poor in the society. That is what pro-poor policy is. So you could also be asked, what is the main aim of the pro-poor policy or of the pro-poor policy? The pro-poor policy is aims to reduce poverty and improve the well-being of the poor. So that's the main aim of the pro-poor policy. Let's take note of that. It could also be an examinable question. But I think this is a clear introduction of decentralization. It is considered as the most important strategy in the public sector reform agenda. Government or sub-Saharan Africa regarded to bring service delivery closer to customers, improve responsiveness of the central government, public demands to reduce poverty. It is linked with the concept of subsidiarity. What did I say? Subsidiarity, that is making decisions at the lowest level. Hey, we got some point. And I also made mention that it is also meant to reduce the workload of the central government. It seeks to increase the operational autonomy of line management and agencies, leaving only broad policy guidelines to be the work out at the central level. And I also said the central governments are more likely to formulate and implement proposed policies and programs. And the final part explains what a proposed policy is and gives the main aim of proposed policy. The proposed policy is a government strategy that aims to reduce poverty and improve the well-being of the poor in the society. And these policies could be social protection or access to basic services. And these services could include the social amenities, healthcare, and as the social protection that I also talk about. What is happening to them? Some of my family with West. Please pardon me for that. So our next subtopic is going to be the linkage between decentralization and poverty reduction. What is the linkage? What is the connection between decentralization and poverty reduction? Someone would even ask, what is the meaning of decentralization or this decentralization that we are talking about? What is the meaning of decentralization? I have two definitions. Decentralization is the transfer of authority to plan, make decisions, and public functions from a higher level of government, that's the central government, to any individual, organizations, or agencies at the lower level. I take it again. Decentralization is the transfer of authority to plan, make decisions, and manage public functions from a higher level of government to any individuals, organizations, or agencies at the lower level. That is one definition of decentralization. The authority, there has to be the limitations of power or authority from a higher level to any individuals or agency. The individuals could be our assemblymen and other with respectable dignity at the lower level. And there could also be a transfer of authority to agencies and organizations at the lower level to formulate and make decisions to promote the well-being of the people at the lower level. That is decentralization. Another definition of decentralization in the study of politics is decentralization refers to the what? Territorial distribution of power. It is concerned with the extent to which power and authority are dispersed through the geographical hierarchy of the state and the institutions and processes through which such occurs. Decentralization entails the subdivision of the state territory into smaller areas and the creation of political and administrative institutions in those areas. Some institutions so created may themselves find it necessary to practice further decentralization. I take it again. Decentralization in the study of politics refers to the territorial distribution of power. It is concerned with the extent to which power and authority are dispersed through the geographical hierarchy of the state and the institutions and processes through which such occurs. Decentralization entails the subdivision of the state territory into smaller areas and the creation of political and administrative institutions into those areas. So this definition says that decentralization is the transfer of power and authority into smaller or local areas. It is the process by which power and authority is dispersed into these local areas or local government to formulate and make decisions over them. And the geographical hierarchy of the states and institution and processes through which these powers occur or these administrative level at the local center occurs. So therefore, the state has been divided into subunits, and there is a power transfer or authority transfer to these subunits to administer the various local level to ensure development at those local level. That's the definition of decentralization in the study of politics. So let's look at some benefits of decentralization. So one benefit is about empowering local businesses, creating a supportive environment, and fostering collaborations to drive economic growth and reduce poverty. So decentralization, the definition of decentralization makes us know that there is a transfer of power to agencies and organizations. And when we transfer these powers to them, we empower these local businesses. And we also create supportive environment at these local areas, because when you give people the opportunity to grow themselves, you also support them to to administer the day-to-day administration of these local levels. You support them by helping them with funds to implement their policies. When they find out that these people need potable water and electricity, they bring it to the national level. The national level give them the national government or the central government gives them adequate funds to go and implement these policies. The policy cycle makes us know that the number four makes us know that the implementation of policies involves the actions. So yes, we found that we need potable water. What are we doing? The policy implementation serves as the action part of the government. So they seek funds to go and pay for, make their ideas come into reality. And they are getting supportive environments and empowering local businesses by transferring authority or power to these local businesses or local agencies. In as much as I've mentioned some one benefit of decentralization, there are also weaknesses of decentralization. And one of them includes, because they do not have enough resources, so they have to, let me take it again. Because they do not have enough resources, so if they have autonomy, that's the ability for a region to govern itself independently, they will still heavily rely on the government. So a major weakness of decentralization is that decentralization encourages or promotes autonomy. That's the ability for local areas to what or regions to live independently. But at these local areas, they do not have enough resources to govern themselves. Even when they find problems in the state, they still bring these things to the central government to seek for funds in order to implement those policies. So, in as much as you are trying to live alone and you do not have enough resources, you still rely heavily on the government because whatever you see there, you come back to the central government that, oh, today we need this, you are going to do this. We've given you the money. Few months later, you also come, or few weeks later, you also come. Oh, we've also found this, we want to do this. We need this amount of money to go and what? Implement this, go and construct roads, go and build schools, go and build hospitals in the state, in the local areas. So day in, day out, you're asking for money because you don't have enough resources to live independently. And if you don't have enough resources to live independently, you will be coming to the government to what? To seek for money. You always come to the government to seek for money. And that's the major weakness of decentralization. Because you are encouraging people to live independently or local areas to live independently. You still don't have enough resources. You still don't have enough funds to live independently. So you're always coming back to the government, the central government, to seek for money. So we indirectly, it's more like you are practicing central, a centralized government, but you just have people at the local level that are always bringing these problems to the central area or the central level. But indirectly, we are having a centralized government because it is the central government that is always giving you funds, always giving you resources to what? To go and implement your policies. These are some benefits and weaknesses of decentralization. We've looked at the linkage between decentralization and poverty reduction. We've looked at the various definitions of decentralization, whereby there is a transfer of authority to plan and make decisions from and also manage public functions from higher level of government to any individuals, organizations, and agencies at the lower level. We've also looked at the definition of decentralization, the study of politics, as it refers to the territorial distribution of power. It is concerned with the extent to which power and authority is dispersed in the geographical hierarchy of the state. And we've also looked at one benefit of decentralization. I just give one benefit and one weakness of decentralization because our eye is going to be in short answers. And if you are asked of one benefit of decentralization, you can see it's about empowering local businesses and creating a supportive environment to drive economic growth and reduce poverty. And you can also talk about the what's one weakness, that's the heavily rely of the local level on the central government because they do not have enough resources to live independently. They always rely on the central government. So let's also look at poverty reduction. So poverty reduction is designing and implementing appropriate methods to ensure that resources are allocated to activities that will yield productivity. Poverty reduction refers to designing and implementing appropriate methods to ensure that resources are allocated to activities that will yield productivity. So that's the basic definition of poverty reduction. It explains that the small amount of resources that we have, we should ensure that we what we allocate them to activities that will yield productivity, that will give us benefit. So if we have let me say cocoa, and we know that we can use cocoa for mellow drink and other things, we should focus on allocating this small resource that we have, that is cocoa, at activities, to activities that will what that will yield productivity. Know that we have cocoa, so we are eating the cocoa, and we are misusing it. And later on, we go and bleed for money, or we'll go and import Milo drinks and chocolates and these Milo sachets from other countries. But when we have our own cocoa, and we try to what to change and transfer these resources that we have into ready goods or secondary goods, I think it will increase our revenue income, and people from other countries can also come and import this cocoa from us, or import these chocolates and Milo drinks from us. That will also develop our economic growth, because they coming to import, they are coming with money, and we can use this money to us to establish companies that will produce more Milo drinks and chocolates, and we can also use these monies to develop our states, constructing roads, um, having proper policies towards to ensure that the poor have sustainable life. That is all about poverty reduction. So when you look at this, it gives us the means or certain activities that we have to engage in, certain things that we have to do. That is allocating our resources to activities that will yield productivity. That is all about poverty reduction. So when you look at the various submissions, you should see that the decentralization, the introduction of decentralization, the concept of decentralization, coming down to the definitions and benefits, have a common goal, that is to reduce poverty in the state, because the primary goal of this decentralization as a concept is to develop the state. And we can say our state is developed when when there is a reduction of poverty in the state, when people have jobs to do, when people have enough food to eat, when people have places to sleep, when there is peace and stability in in the country. That is when we get to know that our country is developed. And the concept of decentralization is saying that we can ensure this development by transferring and doing a conclude submission. We can ensure this development by transferring power to individuals and what agencies at the local level, in the sense that when we transfer these powers to them at the local level, they live closer to the people, and they know the right policies to implement to reduce poverty. They know certain activities they are supposed to do to reduce poverty. And the linkage of decentralization and poverty reduction says that we should design and implement what appropriate methods to ensure that resources are allocated to activities that will yield productivity. That is the linkage between it. Because these people at the local level too are having their own economic activities. Some are farming, some are fishing, and other things. So these resources that we are getting, these cocoa, oranges, some are also mining. These mineral resources that we have, when we allocate them to appropriate what activities, it is going to yield productivity. That is the linkage between decentralization and poverty reduction. I I hope this recorded session helps us a lot. And kindly go through the part or document two as well to get fair understanding. There could be some important notes that I've missed, but I hope I do not mix or have not missed any of them. But I think when you go through the part, it's going to give you the what the overview of decentralization in Ghana. It all talks about the concept of decentralization, but how it has been practiced in Ghana. And I think the important thing is for us to understand the concept of decentralization and the linkage between decentralization and poverty reduction. And we will be able to what apply them in the various countries. So it can be decentralization in US. When you have the concept, when you see any preamble and extract, you know that this one is talking about decentralization. But when we go straight to decentralization in Ghana, and we do not have solid grounds, or we do not understand the concept of decentralization and poverty reduction, that is where we are going to fumble. So I didn't really wanted to go into details in this particular session, but I wanted us to understand and have a fair idea about the concept of decentralization and the linkage between decentralization and poverty reduction. So I think I should bring this discussion to an end. I'll be making a report session about public personnel. That one too is part of the topics Madam sent to us. Then I hope I think in some years to come, the upcoming students who will be coming to level 200 will be a little bit confused. That's I'm saying that the parts we are going to learn and other things, but this recorded session is made for level 200 in 2023. So I think it will also benefit us when we get to that point. I bring the submission to an end. This is Academic Showdown for the 213. My name is Bafo Joseph Japan. But as you see on your screen, it's Nana Bafo because that is what I'm popularly known as. I will send you another recorded session on the subsequent topics as time goes on. Please kindly listen to the recording and also go through the document that has been sent to us to have a better understanding of the topic decentralization and poverty reduction. Good evening to you all once again. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on the time you are listening. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope to see you another time on this academic journey that we are all embarking on. Thank you very much.